welcome. If you're new to the channel, my name's Elliott and you're watching Rickety Ski Reviews. Today, we're gonna answer questions and comments. I appreciate everybody being patient. Last week, we had one video, but it was a very long video. I think it was like 90 minutes, so I'm just playing with different things, you know, with YouTube changing and the channel growing. I'm trying to figure out what's useful and blending stuff. I like having regular content, but also there's some videos where I feel like it helps a lot of people out. A lot of these gear guides you see online are all bought and paid for, and mine wasn't, so I wanted to add that, and especially for people who are buying ski gear, I thought it'd be helpful. But I know that that kind of came at a cost to you guys, so right away this week we're gonna talk answering questions and comments, and maybe I'll even do like a deal video because there are definitely some decent prices still kicking around. So let's try to help as many of you guys as we can today. So without further ado, let's jump into your comments and questions. First comment comes from C. Adam CYK. I recognize this username. He says, thanks Elliott. I think we can overthink bindings. But in your opinion, do you think you can tell a difference between two when skiing? Like, can the binding affect the performance of a ski, the average resort skier? For example, I demoed Volkl 102s last year and loved them and purchased them. Between the Look SPX and Tyrolia Attack 14s, could a lower level advanced skier be able to tell the difference on snow? Not talking about clicking or releasing, just as it pertains to performance. Am I overthinking this? That is a great question. My gut reaction from the hip is that probably the average skier couldn't really tell a big difference between a Look SPX 12 or 13 and a Tyrolia Attack 14. I think the only time you really feel a noticeable difference at that level is probably when you start affecting stack height. There are a couple of times though where you do feel the difference in the binding. I think some of it too depends on the ski. If you have a really heavy damp ski, well then a lot of that vibration gets absorbed by the ski, right? So there's not as much to feel. Whereas if you get like a really light pinny ski, you may feel some of like the turn initiation through the foot if your foot is closer to the ski versus a binding that's a little bit more lifted up. So you can have differences, and sometimes the ski can exacerbate those differences. But from the hip, no, most people don't notice the difference in bindings. And even myself, like, I know people who say they hate demo bindings, and I'm totally fine with them. I think the only time I really see a big difference in binding performance is with stack height and carving initiation, especially if you have a carving focused ski. Being lifted up or the angle, like some bindings have different angles based on like the toe difference from the heel difference. So like being kind of leaned forward more can help the ski initiate a little bit easier. I think stack height can affect your carving initiation. I haven't played with it a ton, but I only notice it when I go from something really distinct, like going from a Tyrolia Attack demo binding all the way to a Look pivot where you are right on the ski. That is a big difference. But when you get into similar-ish bindings, like a Look SPX 13 and a Tyrolia Attack 14, I wouldn't overthink it too much. The average person really would not notice the difference between those two bindings, other than the click in, like you said. I think, you know, if you're really dialed in or you're really familiar with your skis, or if you have a ski that gives you a lot of feedback, you may notice some slight differences. But if you personally like are talking about the bindings you bought, and you're between the Look SPX 13 and the Tyrolia Attack 14s, no, you're not gonna notice a giant difference. Even me, like I go from a pair of Look SPX 12s where I am like right on the ski, there's not much, and then going to a demo Tyrolia Attack where it's pretty lifted. There's some difference, but even that where there is a difference in stack height and there is a difference in like closeness to the ski, as far as what I can tell anyway. Yeah, because the demo bindings, you have that whole piece there. You're quite a bit more lifted up. Even then, I think it's marginal at best. So if you're worried about yourself, I would say either one you'll be pretty happy with, as long as you're on the right skis. I hope that helps. I know I'm kind of speaking vaguely, but like I said, the average person really won't notice a big difference. All right, Anthony Skakagianakis? That got butchered. They said, what about Rossignol? Doesn't exist in any category? That was on the ski gear guide. Yeah, Rossignol definitely has skis out there. And in fact, in that video, I do talk about the Rossi Sender 110 Free that I reviewed the year prior. Here's the deal with Rossignol. They were supposed to send me a pair of the Sender Soul 102, something like that. And they just never did. I sent them all my information. I sent them 6 to 7 follow-up emails, and the rep just completely ghosted me. So I don't know what to tell you, Rossignol. Here's the thing. If you guys have a ski brand that I don't have access to, and I'm very transparent about who sends what, if there's a brand you want me to review, go on their social media and say, hey, I'm not buying this until Rickety Ski reviews it. Or hey, like send a pair to Elliott at Rickety Ski Reviews. I really wanna know his thoughts. That's the only way I can think to do it. I think if you guys go out there and just say, hey, we wanna see this content, and you say it to them, that is the most effective way that I've found to show them. I think every influencer is like going to these brands saying, hey, can I have some skis? Hey, can I have some skis? I don't really care about skis that much. I really just want to review them and give my honest opinion. So it can be hard to stick out in a sea of people asking for free stuff. And for me, I'm like, I just want to review the skis. I'm not going to charge you anything. So if you guys really have a brand you're passionate about that I don't have access to, go on their social media and politely ask them about it, because they're gonna be able to tell you, for better or worse, why they're not sending skis. But for me, I've outreached to every single brand that, you know, basically I went through Evo's list of skis carried and went and, you know, emailed every single one of them. And as far as like why Rossignol didn't get included, it's because I literally have tested every Rossignol ski that I had at my disposal. I went through at my local mountain and I tested for a day every single Rossignol ski that they carried that I could possibly review. And then none of the local shops carried anything for demos that I hadn't already tested. They had like some Sender 110 Freeze, but I had already done that video. So for me with Rossignol, I'm just completely at a dead end. I like Rossignol. I used to race on Rossignol skis, but I don't have any access to them. And for me, like going out and buying a pair wholesale versus the amount of like attention or desire there is for those videos, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I can't go out and buy 30 pairs of $800 skis, especially when I have brands that are sending me stuff, sometimes sending me stuff that is like new and exciting. I cannot prioritize spending out of pocket. I think I've made a video about this, but last year for the channel, like income, just money coming in, was about $14,000 for the whole year across all channels, across affiliate links and YouTube. So I just don't have the capacity to go out and buy Rossignol skis, especially when they had told me they were sending something. So yeah, it's a big bummer, but I would love to review them. If I can get them at a local demo shop, I will definitely review what I can. But as of right now, I just don't have the access to those Rossignol skis, unfortunately. All right, Joe Jones Rockout says, do you have any recommendations for ski bags? I'm based in the Southeast, so air travel is required. This is on the ski gear guide. Have about 6 trips planned this upcoming season, so I need something that will hold up. Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, I'm gonna answer this as somebody who used to travel with skis a while ago. So maybe some of this information is a little out of date, but I'll try my best. Back when I raced in college, I would have to go back and forth from Vermont to Idaho, and I would have to like coordinate how I got my skis out and back. Like I couldn't take all of them at once, if that makes any sense. I'd have to like take 2 at a time and kind of plan it out, but then leave rock skis back home. Here's what I found over the years. And again, so much has changed with how airlines charge for this stuff. But back then I would fly Southwest Airlines, which would let you have 2 checked bags for free, and it did not matter as long as they were under a certain weight. So they didn't have a charge for oversized bags like American Airlines or some of those other places. So weight was really important. And what I found was that the wheelie bags or hard case bags tended to make the weight significantly higher. I think it added about 15 pounds or something like that, just to have the wheels, but also the infrastructure around the wheels. So a lot of what I did was just get like a generic Swix bag for 2 skis and pack it that way. And then one tip once I did that was I would pack, assuming, you know, I'd weigh it, make sure it didn't go over the weight limit, but I would pack clothing around it. So, you know, kind of tougher material stuff or towels or old snow pants or whatever. I would just use that to like kind of shield the tips and the tails, because what can happen is the stuff gets thrown around and then the like tips and tails can get, I don't know, just banged up, chipped, shattered, however you want to say it. So that's where a lot of the damage can happen. You can get the like edges get all beat up. So just take whatever you've got, and as long as the weight limit's there, wrap it in a towel or just wrap, especially the edges, in some kind of clothing to protect them. If weight is not an issue for you and you're just looking for a durable ski bag, then they have these like tubes. I forget what they're called. I think they're just called ski tubes. And those work pretty well. You know, you're not getting a ton of like stuff fit into the area. It's very just exactly, you can fit exactly skis in this. They don't give you a lot of wiggle room there. But they, from what I've heard of other people using them, they're pretty durable. And if weight is no issue and you just want something that's easy to carry through the airport, probably those bags with wheels. You get one of those head, they used to call them like the head burrito or the monster. They were really ugly. They were like bright orange and bright green. But they were very sought after back then because they never got stolen. Nobody looks at an ugly bag like that and wants to take it. And when you go to like look for your stuff, it's easy to see. But that would be my advice. If weight is an issue, ignore the wheels, you know, just carry it. Yes, it's a pain, but it'll save you a ton for the overweight fees. And if weight is not an issue, you could look at one of those plastic ski tubes. They're pretty durable and they'll also kind of help protect your skis. So I hope that advice is helpful. Again, it's been a long time since I traveled with skis. Now I only travel about once a year and it's usually international, and I usually don't bring skis with me, but that's just, you know, with having a child with a disability, I just don't travel as much as I used to. So I hope that's helpful. Great question. All right, MB Travel 7294 says, thanks, Elliott. You just talked me out of something and saved me some money. That's good, I think. I was one of those who wanted a touring boot just to have the option. Was thinking about selling my Atomic Prime 110 to buy the XTD models of the same size and flex. I had that exact same problem. About a year or two ago, Black Crows sent me some skis and they only came with kingpin bindings. So I wanted to review the skis. It was brand new. It was like the first brand that had sent me any skis, and it was like the exciting Draco Freebird. So I was like, oh, I'll sell my boot and then just get these touring version. And I got the exact same flex, the exact same size, the exact same width, everything the same. And the boots were way too soft. They didn't fit properly. If you're not actually touring, don't buy touring boots. If you're gonna do it, get the proper equipment, but just getting that one piece creates another point of failure that you don't need, and the softness and everything else does not line up. I had to go to a 130 flex just for the touring boot to feel like it fit properly. So I'm glad I saved you some money. You know, it's one of those things where you think based on the numbers, but it doesn't always line up. And that's flex across the board. You can't just say, oh, well, I'm a Lang 120 flex, so that means that these K2 120s will be the right flex for me. No, you have to go boot by boot, unfortunately. The flex pattern, like, number is not standardized. There's some pretty interesting videos out there about it, but that's the short and sweet of it, is that you really cannot rely on those numbers and just buy, even within the brand, which is kind of wild to me. But yeah, buyer beware, you gotta try each boot individually to make sure it fits you. All right, Blur Glide says, the Montero AR is worth the money. I mean, think of how much you spend on lift tickets and travel. Why not spend a bit more on the ski to maximize your fun and confidence? I didn't know skiing hardback could be this fun. Oh, like on piste. Yeah, the Montero AR is beautiful, but also consider Blur Glide how many days you ski. Like if you have a ski hill near your area and you only go 5 days a year, and you know, let's say 2 of those are powder days, that ski may not make any sense to you, or you know, it is a lot of money. So I never fault people for that, but I do feel like if you're an enthusiast, you like carving, Blur Glide's 100% right. If you like a good turn and you want the smoothest, most powerful, most fun turn, what's the right word? The most like dialed in, where everything just feels razor sharp, but like also like the timing's good, the smoothness is good. If you care about a good turn, then there's a ton of value in that ski. It's not like some of those skis where you just have some like art house top sheet over a base ski. The Montero ARs are the real deal. But you know, I think that value is really case by case for skiers. You know, I know people who only go 5 days a year for Christmas and they're skiing with their kids and they can't go that fast. Yeah, I wouldn't spend that much money on a Montero AR if I was only skiing 5 days a year and it was with my younger kids. I wouldn't get the value out of it. Whereas something like a, you know, Black Crow's Octo, Montero AX, whatever the ski might be, where I'm just like, oh, I can have a lot of fun and be on the blue squares. Yeah, there might be more value there. So it's always case by case, but I agree with your kind of read on the Monterey AR, it lines up very much with my experience with those skis. Great comment. All right, Logan Lopez 7 says, hey Elliott, I have the Bent 110 and love the ski for Colorado powder. I'm looking for something around 95 to 100 millimeter width for more all mountain regular use. Any suggestion for a ski to fill in the gap between my Maverick 88 and Bent 110? Boy, you know what? I've been thinking about this question for a few days now because I'm like, what would you put between an Atomic Maverick 88 and a Bent 110? And you're in Colorado powder, right? Like if you were on the East Coast, I'd be like, oh yeah, you know, dial in with like something kind of damp, but you're in Colorado and you've got like 2 skis that cover a ton of ground. What would I suggest? You know, if you're looking for a ski that's not in, I mean, it's in between those for width, but it's doing kind of a different thing than those skis, you could very much look at a Volkl M7 Mantra or Nordic Enforcer 99 if you want a spring ski, like a spring crud cutter. I love my Bent 110s, I love my Maverick 88s, but they don't tend to do as well with like the really wet, soupy snow. I mean, you can mitigate a little bit of that with like waxing and everything, but unfortunately that Horizon Tech, which gives you all that flotation for the powder, can also get hung up in the wet, soupy snow. So for me, I would maybe look at getting like a crud cutter, like that Volkl M7 Mantra or Nordic Enforcer 99. You could also, if you're just like, I love these skis and I want something right in between them, probably the closest thing is like an Atomic Maverick 105 CTI, where you get some of that charging from the Maverick, and then also some of that flotation from the Bent 110. But I really feel like you're getting a lot of overlap with those 3 skis. Honestly, what I would do, because you can't get Maverick 100s anymore, or 95 TIs, what I would do is look at like a Meyer Wrangler, because Mavericks have changed to the CTI platform. I feel like the Wrangler would be perfect for that. It carves well, it performs off trail well, it's still in that kind of vein for ski shape that you're getting with that series, while also being different enough from the Maverick 88 and the Bent 110. I don't know. I kind of think the Meyer Wrangler, and you said you're in Colorado, so you could go to their Denver shop and talk to them. You know, and like just, it's one of the few, you're one of the few people that could like go and put the ski in your hand, assuming you're anywhere near Denver. I kind of think the Meyer Wrangler, since you have 2 really good skis already, and this one is different enough, but right smack in between those widths, honestly, the Meyer Wrangler is kind of perfect for that. Or if you want to kind of go in a different direction and get a spring skiing crud cutter, look at one of those 2 other options. But that's my 2 cents. I think that if you like those skis, you'd be really interested in it. And I have a couple videos where Zach tested them as well. Thanks so much for writing in. I hope that was helpful. All right, let's crank out a couple more questions. K-Rico22 says, thanks for great videos, Elliott. I'm considering ZipFits for the ability to fill cork and fill up space around my chicken ankles. There's a new term I haven't heard. I have the Atomic Ultra Boots, too narrow for my feet, too narrow, not yet heat formed or blocked, but still not locking to my heels. Does anyone think I'm on the right track here? Might be cheaper to go for foaming some Sidus or Atomic, but I like the DIY. Comments. Yeah, that's a little outside of my pay grade for knowing exactly what will fit your exact foot. I would go to a boot fitter. Right, like there are certain things that I can help you with, and I'm in the same boat, right? Boot fitters are not cheap, but there are certain feet that just need a little bit more support and a little bit more help, and I could potentially send you on a wild goose chase of buying things that are not going to actually do the job, right? Like buying a ZipFit to fix a specific boot fitting issue could work, but you could also be in the hole $500, whereas if you just started with a better fitting boot, then the ZipFit could improve it rather than not fixing a problem, and now you're out money and frustrated. Because if you have the wrong type of ski boot or the wrong size, now your ZipFit will not fit the proper size. My first thing I would check out is, like, I have a video about sizing it, but see if your boots are the right size. If your ankle isn't staying in, that can sometimes be the result of your boots being too big. You could go off of like a chart online. Usually those are a little bit too big for your actual foot size. If you go, oh, well, I'm a size 9.5 shoe, I need a 27.5. That's not how it works. I'm a 10.5 on average with 2 different size feet, and I wear a 27.5. So, you know what I mean? Like, you need to talk to a boot fitter, but off the cusp, I would first, it's like if you're diagnosing a car, right? Like, what's wrong with it? And, you know, I'm hearing something, it's like, what does your oil look like here? And in this case, it's like, what size boot do you have versus your foot? And are you sure it's the right size for your foot? Because the heel sliding in and out, that's a very common occurrence. Some of it could be too that the shape of your foot doesn't just fit into that kind of shell. The second thing I'll say is you could try the spoilers. I've had the spoilers fix that for me on occasion, where they just got my foot into the right position so my heel didn't slide around. And then maybe the ZipFits will help. I found that it helps slightly for my boots, but I'm really, really hesitant to tell you that that's gonna fix your issue. I would first start with, take your liners out, put your shells in, and how many fingers fit between your heel and the back of the ski boot when your toes are all the way to the front, and then go from there. And if you're not able to solve it with a couple of quick things like putting in a spoiler or seeing if the boot is just straight up too long for your foot, then probably I would go to a boot fitter before I bought ZipFit. If it's really close and it almost fits, maybe that would work, but I don't know. I just don't want to send you on a goose chase. All right, Courtney Shire says, Volkl Mantra 84 versus DPS Pisteworks 79. Oh my God, those skis could not be more different. I mean, I know that they're like in each other's proximity for width, but oh my God. I cannot think of two more different skis. Yeah, the DPS Pisteworks is very much a short radius springy ski, right? It is very lightweight. It gives you every ounce of energy into the turn, comes right back out, maybe a little bit more. It feels like a springboard into each turn. It is so like efficient with its power, but they are not damp at all. I mean, you took those into something where it's like really firm or the snow is just chopped up, beat up, you're gonna get tossed around. But if you get like soft snow or perfect corduroy, it's a phenomenal ski. You're getting so much power out of your turns. Versus a Volkl Mantra 84, which has diversity in its turns, but it is much more of a damp ski that goes through bad conditions, that comes down the fall line. It's much more like can kind of carry its momentum through heavy wet snow. They are similar in width, but polar opposites as far as performance. Both great skis. I mean, I wouldn't say like one is better or worse than the other. I like both of them, but for very different purposes, and they excel in very different areas. Hope that's helpful. All right, last comment comes from Sam Font 6458 on my very old video, AI selling you BOA. That was the Gear Junkie, where they were using AI for their pictures. Allegedly. Okay, they say, AI might be onto something with the BOA durability. My boot fitter, who sold me a boot without BOA, said that he replaces vastly more buckles than BOA setups. Yeah, but how long does it take to replace the buckles versus the BOA setups? That is such a misleading like figure for a couple of reasons. Okay, like think about it this way. Ask him this. How many hours per month does he spend replacing BOA setups versus buckles? I'm not saying BOA is a problem. Like, I think BOA is great, and like, I think that the more I've thought about BOA, the more it makes sense for like people who, you know, maybe have arthritis and doing the buckles doesn't make sense, or maybe there are fit things where it just helps them get a better fit for the boot. Even my son who, you know, has a disability, I look at that when he gets older and go, okay, BOA would be much easier for me to get on his feet and crank it rather than buckling 4 buckles. So, you know, I'm not on any kind of like march against BOA. I think it's a fine product. I don't think it's always the optimal product for every single person. But that being said, yes, you replace buckles throughout the year, but it is so easy to replace buckles. I mean, it's a couple screws and rivets and that's it. Like, they are so easy. You can swap out one of the pieces. I've had with my race boots, they take a lot of abuse from the slalom gates, and it's so easy to replace buckles. So yes, he probably replaces more buckles, but that's like a car shop saying, oh, well, we do a lot more oil changes than we do transmission replacements. It's like, okay, but the oil change takes half an hour to an hour and the transmission rebuild takes weeks. It's like, it's such an unfair comparison. But I understand what he's trying to say, that yes, the BOAs do seem to be durable, and that's great. I'm just laughing at the comparison, but I'm not laughing at your comment. It is very insightful and interesting to me. So thank you for writing in. I just wanted to have a little bit of a laugh there. So anyway, that's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm trying to like kind of get back more on the regular content. I spent a ton of time on that gear guide. So if you have somebody who has questions about gear, I do think that's a helpful video. I'm really trying to figure out how to help the community the best I can with the limited time and resources I have. But it is very nice to be back in the saddle, answering regular questions. I am gonna look at doing some deal videos, if not this week, then next week, so that should be on the horizon. I'm also going to do some more ski roasts, so keep that kind of bookmarked. I felt so embarrassed. The last ski roast I did, I roasted the same quiver twice from the first time I did it, and I just was dying. Like, I sent the person an email, and they're like, oh yeah, you already reviewed my quiver, but thanks for doing it twice. Oh, devastating. So anyway, I am gonna do that more. I'm just gonna be more careful to make sure I don't do the same quiver twice. I know a lot of you guys wanna see that. I've even had a couple of other influencers that want me to review their quiver. So that's on the horizon. I've also got some stuff to say about some of the legal battles going on with ski hills, but I wanted to just talk to you guys because I feel like I haven't answered your questions in a while. And it's a great way to connect with you. If you like this kind of content, please consider liking and subscribing. That's a free way to support the channel. We also have company Ko-Fi, company Venmo. If you are in the process of purchasing skis, we have affiliate links down before. We don't take any channel sponsors, so that is how we are able to be sustainable as a channel. But as always, more than anything, just thanks for taking time out of your day to watch my videos. It's getting cold out, and I am getting so excited to ski, and I hope you are too. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. See ya. Oh, one quick question. Okay, before I end this video, I have a GoPro Max. I've been using it all year last year. It works great. I love it. There's a couple things that I'm not super keen on. Like, I can't use a Bluetooth mic, which is really hard for skiing in the wind. So I almost never talk. It's like I record here and then I have video on the ski hill. And I'm looking at getting a GoPro Max 2. If anyone has suggestions, I'm trying to decide between the GoPro Hero Black 13 or something like that and the GoPro Max 2. I don't really use the 360 feature. Every once in a while, Zach will do a backflip and I'll let him use it, or I've used it a couple of times, but I find that the workflow for it really isn't worth it. But I really like that wide field of view you get from those 360 cameras. But what I like about these cameras, I have like the lens covers for these, and if they get scratched from hitting a branch or something, the thing I like about the 360 cameras, if this lens gets scratched in the front, I will literally flip it around with the other lens cover and shoot that way. And for me, it's really important because sometimes I only get a day with each pair of skis that I can at least get some kind of video. So that's my use case, that's why I like it. But I'll be the first to admit, I don't know that much about action cameras. Obviously, you know, I'm shooting on an old camera from Canon that I bought for like family photos half a decade ago. So I'm not the most educated on sports cameras. I just know things I like and things I don't like. So if you know anything about this and want to give me feedback, I would love to know which camera I should be getting. Again, like the Hero 13 Black is definitely cheaper, but the new GoPro one has a higher resolution. I think this camera is like 6 years old. And also the big thing is just that Bluetooth and be able to talk and sync a microphone up to it. There's also a couple other features, but those are like the big ones I'm looking at. So if you have any information or know about GoPro cameras, I'd love to know, because a lot of the videos online they just seem like marketing. Lucas Catania has some really good videos, so that's been helpful. But he also has like all of them, so it's hard to know which one he would get. And also it'd be nice to have a second camera for when Zach and I ski together, and maybe get you guys some more third-person shots. So it's always hard though, right? It just looks like, oh, that's a lot of money to spend, and am I really gonna use it? Is it really gonna give me that much more than my current camera? So if anyone out there knows GoPro, knows action cameras, I'd love more information. Anyway, that's a little PS at the end of the video. Thank you so much again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.